that documentation and those diagnoses because Aaron had tried to fight this disease long before the shooting. Because he had suffered from this mental illness for years. And he had sought professional help. He had sought medication. He had sought a way to escape the torture of the dark and terrifying delusions of homicide and of death and of destruction that tormented him. He had sought a way to escape the disease that isolated him and separated him from his sanity. But he couldn't escape it. The disease itself fought him, distorting his thoughts. It impaired his judgment. It disorganized his very mind. He had limited insight into his disease. And unfortunately, limited insight is inherent in the disease itself. It's one of the symptoms. So this case is about brain disease and how it can take everything away from a person, even their mind. How it can take away a person's ability to form their own intentions and their own desires. How it can take away a person's ability to perceive and to understand reality. How it can strip away the very ability to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. This is a case about Aaron's cognitive abilities at the time of the shooting. Our cognitive ability is our mental process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and our senses. It encompasses things such as our ability to learn, our ability to use judgment and to evaluate things, our ability to reason, our decision-making processes, our comprehension, and how we use and understand language. Our cognition is how we process information. Aaron's cognitive abilities were impaired. Completely separate from the mental impairment that the illness itself caused, Aaron had organic brain damage. And that is when a person suffers decreased mental function due to a cause other than the mental illness. Now in Aaron's case, the cause isn't known. It may be genetic, it may be from an injury in utero, but despite the lack of clarity as to the cause, as to the origin of the damage, the extent of the damage is clear. Aaron doesn't know this, but his mental cognition abilities are at the level of mental retardation. And they always have been. We have testing from his childhood that shows it. Aaron's struggle started with developmental delays that were so pronounced that his parents saw it, his pediatrician saw it, his teacher saw it. And you're going to hear from them. You're going to hear from his mother, Janice Ybarra, who first noticed it. You're going to hear from his pediatrician, Bill Schnall, who first tracked it. You're going to hear from his elementary school psychologist, Dr. Roberta DeVord, who first tested it. And you're going to hear from the pediatric neurologist he was finally referred to, Dr. Stephen Glass, who first diagnosed it. Dr. Glass called it static encephalopathy. And it interferes with Aaron's ability to process information, to understand things, and to express himself. After his diagnosis, all sorts of therapies were introduced to try to help Aaron. He got placed in special education. He got IEPs, which are individualized education plans. He got special attention and assistance at school. But that stopped when his parents decided to homeschool him, and from then on he had no more IEPs, no more special therapy. But there was some improvement during the time that he got those. He eventually learned to read, reading today at the 6th percentile, elementary school. His speech is improved, although it's terse and very concrete, still to this day. He does struggle in our world. He doesn't have the ability to live on his own. He hasn't been able to hold a job down in years. And he can't do all the normal everyday things that we take for granted. Because Aaron's brain is both damaged and diseased. And Aaron's impairment is magnified exponentially because the damage to his brain limits his ability to to deal with his disease. His brain damage was diagnosed when he was 7. His brain disease was diagnosed in early 2012 when he was 24. Eric had gone to a therapist, Samantha Good, because Eric Harris, the Columbine killer, was telling him to kill people. Aaron was becoming consumed with homicidal ideation, violent, dark obsessions, compulsions. The first thing he tried to drink it away. He sought the relief of an alcoholic blackout. He didn't hear the voices when he was drunk, and so he drank heavily. He tried to drown it out. And while the experts will tell you that it's common for people with mental illness to try to self-medicate with alcohol or other drugs, the experts will tell you it doesn't actually help. And it does cause other problems. And on October 10th, 2010, Aaron was taken by the Montlake Terrace Police Department to the hospital for an involuntary commitment because he had homicidal ideation. And he was intoxicated, so nobody was really too concerned, and they sobered him up and sent him home, even though he was talking about killing people. Aaron was 23. The typical onset for schizo disorders is the early 20s. Aaron kept drinking. But on November 20th, 2011, after his drinking had become increasingly worse, Aaron tried to go to detox. He tried to go to Fairfax Hospital to enter into a detoxification program to stop drinking. But instead of going into detoxification, they sent him back to the emergency room because Aaron had homicidal thoughts. And he told them it hurts to control it. But this time, Aaron was not intoxicated. This time, there was a blood test that showed that there were no drugs and no alcohol present. And this time, Aaron told them, I've been drinking to medicate the voices that I hear. Again, they sent him home. Aaron turned to his little brother, Joel, who had long since surpassed him in skills and ability. He turned to his little brother Joel for advice and for guidance. And he told Joel he heard the voice of the Columbine killer in his head, telling him to kill people, and it scared him. And Joel told Aaron to get some professional help, to get some medication. So on January 31st, 2012, 2 years, 4 months, and 5 days before the shooting at Seattle Pacific University, Aaron started seeing a therapist, Samantha Good. Over the next 20 months, Aaron told her about his dark thoughts, his homicidal ideation, the feelings that he was being controlled. He told her about obsessive behaviors and routines he felt compelled to complete to keep his mind together. He told her killers had gotten inside of him. At home, he said nothing. Aaron also saw a psychiatrist regularly, Dr. Heidi Awansky, that Samantha Good had referred him to almost immediately. Dr. Awansky prescribed him powerful medications, Risperidol and Prozac, medications to regulate his mood and to control his psychotic delusional symptoms. And sometimes they worked, and sometimes they didn't. Samantha Good and Dr. Awansky each individually diagnosed Aaron with schizoaffective disorder, and they did their best to treat the disease. During the course of treatment, there were times, however, times of crisis, when the psychotic delusions and the disorganized thoughts raced out of control. One of those was in August of 2012, and Samantha Good became desperate to keep Aaron from tipping beyond the reach of rational thought. Aaron was speaking more specifically about a plan to kill and a plan to die. Samantha Good called Aaron's mom to make sure there were no weapons accessible, so great was her concern. Samantha Good sought to have Aaron involuntarily committed to the hospital. His symptoms were so bad. But the involuntary commitment didn't happen. Involuntary commitment only happens if the county designated mental health professional, that's a person that each county designates to do commitment evaluations. The commitments only occur if this person says that it's necessary after an assessment. And the county designated mental health professional in this situation did not even assess Aaron. They called his mom, who didn't know the depths of Aaron's disease, who didn't know about his delusions, who didn't know about the voices telling him to kill. She said he was fine because to her he was the same Aaron, odd as always, but the same Aaron. So the county designated mental health professional decided they wouldn't even talk to Aaron, despite the pleas of Samantha Good, and that opportunity was lost. So Samantha Good turned to Dr. Owanski to help her. And between Samantha Good and Dr. Owanski, they increased his visits, they increased his medications, particularly his risperidone. And between the two of them, their concentrated efforts, they were able to beat back the course of the disease for a time. And they were able to get Aaron back into a safe place in his mind. Throughout the treatment, there were adjustments and there were stumbles, increases and decreases in the medication as they searched for a key to restrain the disease, to subdue the compulsions, to subdue the delusions, to push back the darkness. And in June of 2013, 1 year before the shootings at Seattle Pacific University, it looked like they had succeeded. Dr. Owanski documented in her notes, June 19, 2013. Aaron's working hard and doing well. He has no homicidal ideation. He's making excellent, steady progress. But at the end of the following month, what should normally be a cause for joy, it was Aaron's birthday. Aaron turned 26 years old. And that birthday ushered in the devastating reality that at 26, a child can no longer remain on a parent's health insurance. Aaron was cut off. Funding for the treatment was lost. Funding for medication was gone. And when that happened, there was nothing left to hold back the tide of intrusive thoughts and psychotic delusions and violent ideation. There was nothing to hold back the delusional belief that God had given him over to the devil and had a plan for him to kill. Nothing to hold back the delusional belief that Eric Harris's soul and spirit had taken over Aaron's body so that Aaron would kill as Eric had killed. Nothing to hold back the hate that Aaron felt as Eric felt. He was consumed with a delusional belief that he was a pawn in God's plan to teach a demented lesson to us all. And his psychosis dragged him farther and farther away from reality and into that darkness. And at the end of that descent, Aaron planned and Aaron plotted to kill. He hid his plots and his plans from his family because the demons inside him would get angry. On June 5th, 2014, Aaron killed, and one of the first things he said to the police afterwards was that he didn't know if the shootings were real or not. And now we're all here to sort through the aftermath. Aside from Samantha Good and Dr. Owanski, aside from Dr. Glass and Dr. DeBoard and Dr. Schnall, all the mental health and medical professionals throughout Aaron's life who previously diagnosed him with a mental defect and a mental illness long before that terrible day. Aside from this, as you heard from the state, you'll hear from two neuropsychologists, Dr. Bieber and Dr. Muscatel, both paid for by the county to assess Aaron after the shooting. One expert for the defense, one expert for the prosecutor. These two doctors both have specialized training in mental illness and its intersection with criminal liability. They both have worked doing these evaluations for a very long time. They both are highly respected in the field. Both doctors agree that Aaron suffers from a brain defect that was found in his childhood that limits his cognitive ability to the level of mental retardation. Both doctors agree that in addition, Aaron suffers from serious mental disease that causes psychosis. Both doctors agree that the planning and the plotting and the preparations that Aaron undertook are not in any way inconsistent with insanity. They both agree that people who have mental illness, even to the degree of insanity, are able to think, are able to act, and are able to plan. The question for you in this trial will not be whether Aaron planned these shootings, for it's quite clear that he did. The question will be for you to determine whether it's likely that his mental disease and his mental defect so impaired his cognitive function at the time of these shootings that he was unable at that moment to make a determination between what is right and what is wrong. Ken Muscatel thinks that Aaron Ybarra could do that in the midst of his psychosis. And Dr. Beaver has a different opinion. In his professional assessment, Aaron Ybarra did not have the cognitive ability to make an assessment of what was right or wrong at the time of the shooting. Because Aaron's mind was broken from reality. His thinking was diseased. His thoughts were telling him things that were not true, that this was God's plan and this was what God wanted. And that is insanity.
Thank you, Ms. Brandis. Members of the jury, we're going to take a break so we can set up the courtroom a little bit and begin evidence, which will begin immediately after the break is over. This is my first time, but I'll tell you this many times during this trial. Don't discuss the case. It's the most natural thing in the world when you've heard something in court to go back and begin discussing it. Remember, you're bound and duty-bound not to discuss the case until deliberations begin. So if you would leave your notebooks in the chairs, and please go back straight to the jury room. Please rise to the jury. There will be a recess for 15 minutes.